Good morning, everybody. I trust we are doing well and keeping safe. Thank you, and we appreciate you for being part of this webinar. We give you a warm welcome for spending your morning with us for this webinar. My name is Aurelia, and I will be moderating the webinar today. The topic for today's webinar is laboratory water purity and its impacts on your experiments. I encourage every participant to mute their microphones during the presentation. You can drop your questions in the dialogue or the chat box, and then we'll direct them to the presenter for your answers. There will be a survey link that will be shared. Feel free. We encourage you to share your thoughts with us. A certificate will be presented after the webinar, and then the presentation slides will also be shared for the webinar. Without much ado, I want to introduce my colleague in the person of Mr. Samson Annan to take us through the company introduction for Cleanearth Scientific. Samson, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Aurelia. I believe I'm very loud and you can all hear me. So my name is Samson Annan. As Aurelia said, I am technical sales engineer from the life science department. And it's always a pleasure to talk about Cleanearth Scientific. And so Cleanearth, largely, we are a life sciences and engineering company that provides services in product quality assurance applications for water quality treatment and monitoring, as well as product quality analysis and environmental monitoring. We are 25 years. We've been in operation for 25 years, or for the past 25 years. And so it means that we have been doing this business since 1997. And I'm sure you would ask what has been driving us. I mean, what has been driving our passion to do what we do? I would say that our main motivation is basically to offer advanced and step forward analytical technologies, as well as exploring new ways in helping our clients protect the environment, optimize the quality of water, as well as their product. And so we continue this legacy, not only to serve our clients, but of course, to provide products and services that ensure that the world is indeed clean, or Cleanearth, indeed, as we say. Our mission is to make a difference in the quality of water in the environment, and we don't do this alone. We get into this with our strategic partners. We have MERCK as a key strategic partner. Of course, they are leading us in this conversation, and MERCK is a leading life science and high-tech company. I'm sure we get to know much more about them, who support a wide range of quality water purification systems, from benchtop systems through high flow systems, consumables, and accessories. And we also have Analytic Jenna, who are also largely into the high ends. You want to talk of elemental analysis, like AAS, ICP-MS, ICP-OES, and they also are into the manufacturing of PCR workstations and cabinets, among other things. Then, of course, with Scion is also our partner, strategic partner in the high ends. They support us with GCMS, with HPLCs, amino acid analyzers, and the likes in the high end. So when it comes to the high ends, we largely fall on Analytic, Jenna, and Scion instruments. And then HAC is a global leader in water quality analysis. And so you may want to talk or think of anything from spectrophotometers, turbidity meters, titration systems, TOC analyzers, colorimeters, and HAC is always there, to support us in that regard. And then we also have Rudolph Research Analytical, who also support us in all kinds of refractometers, density meters, polarimeters, and saccharimeters, I mean, for the sugar industries. Then, of course, I would mention Adam Equipment, who also support us in a wide range of analytical and semi-micro balances, from precision balances through to analytical balances, compact balances, etc. So by far, these are our key or major strategic partner. And so Cleanearth, it's divided into two arms. We have the water service department and we have the life sciences department. The water service is largely into the design and the building of water, wastewater treatment systems. In the life sciences, we are largely into the supply of a wide range of analytical instruments, and we also do turnkey laboratory setup. We offer training, technical and application support, and of course, after sales service and support for all the equipment we supply. So we focus on two main markets for water and wastewater. We have the industrial water market and the commercial or municipal water market. For the industrial, our offers span from treatment systems through to process optimization, recycling and reuse, and water quality monitoring. And at the commercial side, we look at offering support or providing services in treatment systems, in sewage management, recycling and reuse, and operations management largely. So this is just a summary of our water services capability. We offer various treatment solutions from utility water treatment, process water treatment, feed water treatment, and it doesn't matter. We do these whether you are operating or you want an open plant or you prefer a containerized system. We are able to offer all these solutions, and also depending on the raw water quality, we can deploy different treatment technologies from a range of the following methods, either conventional through to multimedia filtration. So if you want a full spec system, we are able to build for you. And maybe you don't have, a wide financial muscle, you want us to tailor something to your budget, we are also able to customize something that falls within your budget. So by far, that's our water service department. And our life science department, turnkey laboratory, we are able to start from evaluation, of the project for feasibility through to the design stage, offer help or assistance in instrumentation selection, and we can even go as far as helping with the construction itself. So for our turnkey setup, we say just sit back, we do everything from scratch, we set up the lab for you and then hand over the keys for you, and then you just start your operation. And we offer equipment installation, wide range of that I've mentioned, training and application support, and preventative and corrective maintenance, because we think that it won't be fair to spend so much money in getting an equipment and for us not to care so much about what happens after supplying the equipment. So we don't just care about selling to you, but we care so much about the life after the equipment has been installed and set up at your end. So that's what our preventative maintenance and our service department ensures for you. 25 years of record since 1997. We have a strong management team, a dedicated team with a vibrant energy and a passionate interest in STEM. And we also have a strong financial backing or position that supports, or that is driven or supported by our impact investors. So our focus markets is very, very broad, and from the food industry through to the beverage industry, we are there. We also supply to the pharmaceutical space, municipal water, power generation, the mining sector, you can find us there. We also have strong capabilities in oil, gas, and petroleum through to contract laboratories, and of course, research and education. And this is just, just some snippets of our customer profile. These are some of our notable customers: Nestle, Diageo, Coca-Cola, Dangote. Within the mines, We are proud to associate with mining TNCs like Goldfields Ghana, Anglo Gold Ashanti, Perseus Newmont. Within the power, we have the likes of Car Power, Taka, VRA, etc. Ghana Water Company, it's our biggest client, for the commercial water space. And then we have Abengua Water as well. Tor, we have been associating with them, Puma Energy, Temaliu, Verity Laboratories, and pharmaceutical, there's USP, ITIN, and a host of other things, SGS, Ghana Standards Authority, CSIR, Food and Drugs Authority. We are proud, to be making impact, on their operations. And so that brings us to the conversation of our impact pillars. And we are proud to have strong impact areas from consumer health and safety, water and environment, job creation in science and technology. Consumer health and safety means that through our wide range of analytical offerings, we ensure that there's so much quality in the food and water and beverage that comes out, from the various industries, of course, to ensure that there are no health hazards and consumers who consume these products are healthy and they are very safe. And so this is one strong arm of our impact areas. And of course, water and environment, we ensure that the water that comes out, it's so clean, and also in sanitation. And all these are made possible through our wide range of instrumentation. And one other strong pillar of our impact areas we pride ourselves in is in job creation in the field of science and technology. We all know that in the past, science and technology was, it was a scarecrow, sort of, to say, especially for women. But these days, a lot of women have embraced the idea of venturing into STEM, and we are proud to give such women the opportunity to also join our team. And so when you get to our office or our business, we have a number of women who have joined us, in our team, and they are doing so wonderfully. And so by giving them these opportunities, it also ensures that we are contributing, or we have contributed to the economic development of Ghana. So quality control and assurance using analytical techniques, we believe, impact life and the environment. And this impact is seen, as I mentioned, in the area of health. You can also think of education, social and economic development, and we are proud to be helping expand these areas with our impact. So at Cleanearth Scientific, we say delivering equipment and related services to our clients assures them of quality outcomes in their products, which can be water, which can be food, which can be anything they are dealing with. And also you can talk of the environment as well. So that's just something small about the Cleanearth story. And we are glad to have all of you join us. And hopefully after here, we'll be able to associate more, even with those who are here to experience what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samson Anand, for delivering a wonderful introduction of the company Cleanearth Scientific. I want all of us to know that there's a survey link that's going to be dropped in the chat box after the presentation, after the survey link has been filled and then reverted back to us. A certificate will be sent to you for participating in the webinar. I encourage every participant to fill the survey, and then you get a certificate for participating in the webinar. Thank you very much once again, Samson. We would like to introduce our presenter, our guest speaker for the webinar today. He's in the person of Josphat Kimani. He's been with MERCK. Take us through the webinar today, and the topic is laboratory water purity and its impacts on your experiments. Shall we welcome Josphat Kimani? Josphat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Aurelia, and a very warm welcome to all our participants. My name is Josphat Kimani. I am the Field Marketing coordinator for the EMEA region. So, and I'm very happy to be part of this meeting today. So Aurelia, please let me know when you can see my slides.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, we can see your slides now. Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Like Aurelia rightly mentioned, I'm working with MERCK, and I'm responsible for the lab water business in the region. And I've been with MERCK for, now this is my 7th year, and have been working very closely with the Cleanearth team to make sure that we are offering you the very best lab water solutions for your laboratories. As Aria mentioned, our topic today is laboratory water purity and its impact on your experiments. However, I would like to just mention a few facts about water, which are very important for us to underline. I'm pretty sure you already know this, but I want to mention that water is so often used in the laboratory that most of the time it's taken for granted. But I want also to mention that water is the most widely used reagent in the laboratory. So every analysis that is performed in the laboratory, water will have some impact on it. So to avoid all those negative impacts on your experiments, the very first step that you need to take is to have a good quality water purification system. So, and this will allow you to always have consistently high quality water on hand, because this is really of paramount importance to make sure that you obtain accurate and reliable results. So mainly when it comes to laboratory activities, it all starts with water. The good thing about water is that it's an excellent solvent, it's readily available, but very little care is taken into consideration when it comes to getting the right quality of water. So I think it's basically maybe lack of awareness, spreading awareness from our side, who normally provide this very important water purification system. Maybe from our side, we've not really done so much. And this is why I thank Cleanearth for coming up with this initiative to spread the awareness about this very critical reagent in the laboratory. So it's, when it comes to laboratory, it's all starts with water, and it's actually a very key reagent in the laboratories. So, and since water can't be used in its natural, the way we get it naturally, so basically there is need to purify this water to get rid of various contaminants that are in the water, and therefore this is where we come in with the water purification system. And what do the water purification system do? Mainly is to just purify the water, and they don't just purify the water without like regulations. We do have various organizations that really defines the water quality, and some of these organizations, if I can mention a few, we have ISO, or Organization for Standardization. We also have ASTM, or what we call American Society for Testing and Materials. For the pharmaceutical sectors, we have the pharmacopoeia. So we have the USP, we have the British pharmacopoeia, we have Chinese pharmacopoeia, Japanese pharmacopoeia. So basically, we have various organizations that really defines the specifications based on the water purity. And most of these organizations will classify water purity as either type 1, type 2, or type 3. Of course, type 1 being the most pure. So for critical applications, and type 3 for basically non-critical applications. So when it comes to this classification, they normally talks to two main points: the technical part, where you need to really adapt the quality of the water with the applications. So if you're performing HPLC experiments, you need to have HPLC grade water. So you need to have a water purification system that's able to produce HPLC grade water. That's the technical part when it comes to classifications of water. It also talks to the economic point, because this helps in avoiding selecting a quality that is too high for an application, as the cost of laboratory grade water production increases with water quality. So what does this mean? You need to adapt the quality of the water with the application, because it will be very costly if you use, for example, HPLC grade water for filling, let's say, an autoclave, because an autoclave will require type 3, or in the higher side type 2. So basically, that's the economical point that I'm speaking about. Then when it comes to defining the water purity, so whenever we are producing purified water, we are always starting with potable tap water. This is the raw material to produce purified water. So, and based on the location, the potable tap water contains salts in the concentrations of 50 to 1000 ppm. So this is based on the location. And this is where we start with production of pure water. So we have the first is type 3 water, which is basically reverse osmosis water. And this water contains salts concentration to the tune of 1 to 50 ppm. So, and this water is used for non-critical laboratory applications. So we are talking about glassware rinsing, and these glasswares will not be used for critical analysis. We're also looking at heating water baths. So water baths, autoclaves, filling, rotary evaporator, type 3 water will be ideal to use that to fill those equipment. And here, basically what we are avoiding is to have the salt deposits that will corrode and affect the performance of those equipment, the heat, the water baths, the autoclave, and so on. So really important. Then from type 3, we have type 2, which is basically reverse osmosis plus deionization, or reverse osmosis plus electrodeionization. And the salt concentration for this type of water, type 2 water, is 10 to 50 ppb. So you can see that now we move from ppm for type 3 to ppb. So this is very purified water, and it's used for standard laboratory applications, like preparation of buffers for pH solutions, for culture media preparations. This can also be, type 2 can also be used with the clinical analyzers. And mainly for our products, we have the Milli-Q IX that is normally producing type 2 water. We do have other, of course, other equipment that will produce type 2 water. So we'll be able to just see an overview of this as we proceed. Then, of course, we have type 1 water, and you can see now it's sub ppb level, and this is used for critical analysis. This is the chromatography, gas and liquid chromatography. We also have elemental analysis, and also preparation of culture media for mammalian cell culture, also in IVF, and also in molecular biology. So we also have products that are able to produce type 1 water. And when it comes to those people who normally do ultra trace analysis, we also have other accessories that are able to produce water for ultra trace analysis. We call it the Milli-Q element. And this is mainly used in the ICP and SMS range for ultra-trace analysis. So this just shows the purity of water and the applications and the stages that we normally go through. So we have just said that the raw water or the tap water is usually the raw material for us to produce different types of water. So, and based on the location, of course, the natural water normally has 5 classes of contaminants, and these contaminants are normally removed to safety level for human consumption, and that's where we have the tap water, which is fit for human consumption. However, the tap water, like we said, is not fit for experiments in the lab, and therefore the contaminants need to be removed. These 5 classes of contaminants are the ions, that is the cations and anions. We have the organics, and here we are talking about the natural organics and also the artificial organics coming from the herbicides and drug residues. We also have the other class of contaminants, which is particles and colloids. And this is the dust, the silica, and the sand in the water. We also have microorganisms and their byproducts, and we also have dissolved gases. So these are the contaminants that the water purification systems will remove to a certain level based on your applications. So the potential effects of contamination. So what is it likely to happen when you have contaminants in the water that you're using for experiments?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Josphat, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So these are the effects of water contamination. Of course, the very first one and the glaring one is the erroneous results. You're not able to get accurate and reliable results. The desired results, you'll not get them if you have contamination in water. Of course, when you have erroneous results, you will need to repeat the analysis. And when you repeat the analysis, you lose on time, you lose on money because you're using extra reagents. And of course, there is loss of business in case it's a testing lab and there is a lot of downtime when it comes to this repeating analysis. There is also need to troubleshoot when the scientist sees that there's something going wrong. So there is the need to troubleshoot, and this may take a lot of time as well. The erroneous data that you get here, of course, they will be very difficult to interpret before you know that something is wrong. And also a very costly effect here is the damage to the instruments. So, for example, if you have particles and colloids in your water, you'll be able to damage, for example, for HPLC, the injection ports. And also when it comes to chromatography, definitely there will be reduced column lifetime because there will be too much organics in the water that will reduce the column lifetime. So to remove those contaminants, basically there are quite a number of purification technologies. So we have various purification technologies available to remove the contaminants. So, and examples of those have been given here. So we have distillation. Distillation is actually one of the oldest purification technologies around. It's actually the very first one. However, I must point out that distillation is not really the very best purification technology to use. I know it's widely used, especially in Africa, but then again, there is so much drawbacks or disadvantages of using a distillation unit. And one of them is that it's a very slow process. So because you're using heat to vaporize water and then you cool it down, so it's a very slow process. It's also water consuming because you require a lot of water to cool here. It's also energy consuming because you use a lot of heat to vaporize the water. And you cannot control this process. It's not easily controlled because once the water leaves this point here, then you cannot guarantee the quality of the water coming out. And also there is no technology really to monitor this process of purification. However, it still remains as one of the purification technologies around. We also have activated carbon as one of the medium of purification, have reverse osmosis, which is actually widely used. We also have deionization using ion exchange resin. We also have electrodeionization, and we also have ultraviolet light. This is mainly for controlling bacteria control and also growth control and also breaking down the organics. We also have ultrafiltrations as well. So these are purification technologies around. And I want us to look at their effect on the contaminants. And here we have a complete box that is black that shows when it is fully shaded, it shows 100%. So this contaminant has not been removed. For example, if you have organics and they cannot be removed by deionization. So completely not removed. Ions completely removed by deionization. So we have distillation, deionization, reverse osmosis, ultrafiltration, microfiltration, and activated carbon. So you can see their effect on each of these contaminants. And what is really showing is that for distillation, it has effect on all the contaminants, but it does not remove completely any of the contaminants. So if it comes to ion, you'll still have some ions in the water. Organics, you still have some. You still have some particles and colloids. Bacteria will be there, and dissolved gases as well. When it comes to deionization, it removes completely the ions, but has no effect on all these three and have very little effect on gases. Of course, we have reverse osmosis that normally touches all the contaminants, but does not really remove all the contaminants completely. And the same for UF or ultrafiltration, microfiltration, and activated carbon. So what is really common here is that you have reverse osmosis and distillations have something in common. So they're called the universal purification techniques because they're normally touching on all the contaminants. So, but most of water purification system manufacturing companies normally use reverse osmosis as one of their purification technologies in the system. But also something I would like to note is that none of them can remove all alone. So you need to combine, a water purification system needs to combine these purification techniques to be able to remove all the contaminants. And that brings me to what you normally see in our water system. This is what you will see on your bench: the water purification system, the reservoir tank, and the dispensing units. But inside there, you have all these purification technologies brought together. So you have the activated carbon, you have filtration, you have the reverse osmosis, you have electrodeionization, UV lamp 254 or 265 to kill the bacteria or to control bacterial growth. You have the storage for the very first step of purification. You have UV 185 or sometimes 172 to break down the organics. You have ion exchange resin and activated carbon. You also have monitoring technologies at every step to make sure that you're able to know the performance of your water purification system. So this just shows, trying to remove this to unpin it. Okay, this just shows the steps really defined. And after reverse osmosis, you can see we have type 3 water, just like we mentioned as we started this presentation. So after reverse osmosis, you have type 3 water. Then water goes through electrodeionization and UV254 to control bacterial growth. And in this tank, we have type 2 water, which can be used at that point. Then we have this polishing part. We call it polishing part because we already have purified water inside this tank, and we only need to polish it to get type 1 water. But notice what normally happens is that we have monitoring technologies after every step. After a pretreatment, you have a conductivity cell just to check the conductivity of the water before and after reverse osmosis. This helps us to know the performance of this reverse osmosis because it gives us ion rejection percentage of this reverse osmosis. And then after that, of course, after EDI, you have another reading of conductivity or resistivity to make sure you also know the performance of this electrodeionization module. And of course, you have monitoring of TOC for type 1 water, which is also very important. So these monitoring stages or monitoring technologies really helps to assure the customer that really the type 1 or type 2 or type 3 water that you're producing in your laboratory really meets the specifications that we have cited in our documents. So also, I would like us to look at the role of water. So we said, of course, that water plays a very critical role in most of analysis performed in the laboratory, and just want to highlight just but a few of those critical roles that the water plays in the laboratory. And one of them, of course, is preparation of blanks that we run before running the our products. We also have preparation of buffers and reagents. For type 3, we mentioned about warm water to feed the water baths, tissue processors. We also have preparation of standards, preparation of gel preparation, and also for staining, and also washing and rinsing of containers of analytical instruments. When it comes to, we also have dilutions, dissolutions, extractions of samples as well, and also to feed the autoclaves, the dishwashers, and so on. And of course, it's widely used as a mobile phase for chromatography. So this really just for a few roles that the water plays in the laboratory just underscores that what we said before, that water is the most widely used reagent in the laboratory. So when we are producing the water, I've mentioned about the monitoring technologies, the resistivity or conductivity, and the TOC. These are very, very important parameters in checking the quality of water that is being purified. So we'll just have to look at both of these, so resistivity and the TOC. So when it comes to resistivity, it's basically we are checking the ion content in water. So, and of course, conductivity and resistivity are normally used interchangeably because conductivity is equals to 1 over resistivity, or resistivity is equals to 1 over conductivity, which is an inverse relationship. So we have conductivity, the unit of measure is microsiemens per centimeter, and we have resistivity is mega ohm centimeter. So, but also very important is that we need to always note the temperature at which resistivity or conductivity is measured, because these two normally depend heavily on the temperature. So, for example, the maximum resistivity at 25 degrees is usually 18.2 mega ohm. And this can be seen here, the relationship between resistivity and temperature. So at 10 degrees, you'll have your resistivity at 43.4 mega ohm. And at 25, just like we mentioned, is 18.2. But as you increase the temperature, the resistivity goes down. As you decrease the temperature, the resistivity goes higher. So just to underscore this, it's important to notify the temperature at which conductivity or resistivity measures are performed, as those values are strongly dependent on temperature, as can be seen on this graph here. So, and the water purification system normally should be able to show you the resistivity of the water that is being produced at a glance when you check on the user interface. So basically, tap water, we said, of course, it's the raw material that is used to produce pure water for laboratory applications. And when it comes to organics, it may contain a lot of different oxidizable carbon. So basically, TOC is total oxidizable carbon or total organic carbon. And with TOC, we normally get to know how how much organics that we have in this water. TOC is normally measured in parts per billion. So, and the water purification system should be able to show the user the TOC level, especially for type 1 water, mainly for type 1 water. For type 2 and type 3, really not so much. It's optional for some of the system, but for type 1, it's really paramount to have the ppb level shown on the system. So we have looked at the water purity, the definition of the water purity. We have looked at the contaminants in the water. We have also looked at the purification technologies that are available. We have also looked at the parameters that we need to check. That really very important is the TOC and resistivity. And now when we have pure water or ultra pure water, how do we handle this? So I just want us to look at how we handle the ultra pure water. And just to mention that ultra pure water should not be stored, because really, as we mentioned, its application is for critical analysis. So we talked about the chromatography, that is liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, elemental analysis, molecular biology. So it's for critical laboratory applications. And water being an excellent solvent, it means that water that ultra pure water should not be stored. It should be freshly prepared and used almost immediately, because it will pick up contaminants from the laboratory. So of course, we're talking about the carbon dioxide in the air, the ions, the organic solvents also available in the environment in the laboratory. And of course, it will even dissolve some of the materials that are used in the storage containers. So really should be freshly prepared and used immediately. So, and one very important point is that although reagent bottled water that is used may be type 1 purity when newly produced or manufactured. So water quality degradation begins immediately, and the specifications of type 1 water cannot be maintained. So it means once you have that bottled water, the moment you open it, the water degradation starts there. And you shall see and this is really actually supported by ASTM D5196, but 6 of June 2013. I just want to cite this here, which says storage of final purified water should be avoided or limited to as short a time as possible. So meaning, just like we said, freshly prepared and used immediately. And this can be seen in this experiment that was done actually in our labs, where we had ultra pure water that was displayed in the lab in a beaker. And at time 0, the resistivity was, as we drew the water from we dispensed the water from our system, putting it in that small beaker, it was at 18.2 at 25 degrees. But after 1 hour, you can see this, the resistivity had fallen up to slightly above 4 megaohm. So degradation started almost immediately. And normally what happens, you have carbon dioxide in air that is dissolved in this highly soluble solvent, that is water, type 1 water. So very aggressive, and you'll have carbonic acid, which will cause of course, the resistivity of this water to go down. So really, just to mention again, type 1 water or ultra pure water should be freshly prepared and used immediately to avoid that. And of course, it's also depend on where you store this water. So when it comes to plastic storage carboys, you can see that, of course, day 0, you'll see that you'll have some ghost peaks. And of course, as you progress up to day 9, you can see the peaks here are so visible. And of course, this would really affect your experiments when it comes to HPLC. And this is not really so significant when it comes to glass bottles. So it's also really depend on where you're putting your water, because again, it will dissolve the materials that makes the container. When it comes to type 2 and type 3, this water can be stored, of course, because it's needed for either to be polished to type 1 or to be used to be distributed to either washing machines and so on. So mainly you will have all these needs. And of course, the needs here is the quantity of the water, the quality that needs to be maintained, and also where you need this type 2 or type 3. So how you solve this is based on the size of the tank that you choose. And of course, there are various tanks that are available, from as low as 6 liters internal liter tank, 10 liters, 30, 60, 100, or even 25, 50, and 100. We also have 200 liters and of course 500 liters tank. So it depends on the usage. So you choose the right reservoir, of course, sized with the right system, and right storage solution to maintain the very best. And the design of the tank is really important. And of course, where options to get pure water, where and when you need it. So the capability to distribute this purified water, either type 2 or type 3. So what would happen? Why is it important to have to store this type 2 or type 3? Is might be required, just like I mentioned, to polish on demand to make type 1 water. And so it's also very important to maintain the quality of this water, mainly the resistivity and the TOC and also bacteria. And we'll see the design of the tank, and also to provide access to purified water. And lastly, but not least, is the possibility to provide or to loop basically this water to feed other instruments. So what would happen when pure water is stored? There is likelihood for bacteria recontamination. Recontamination by CO2, as we have seen in the previous slide. Particles present in the air would get into that water. Solvents, fumes available, normally present in the labs, can get into that water. and also contamination with residues of detergents or during sanitization. So this is possible. So we need the right storage solution for this. And the design of the tank is really very important. What is key is first the vent filter. The vent filter really is very important because we have, when water is being filled in this tank by the water purification system, the air inside goes out through the vent. And when you're drawing water from the tank, air comes in to fill that space. So the air that is really coming to fill in that space is what we are preventing with this vent filter, because that air could be having contaminants, could bring contaminants into this water. So the vent filter makes sure that only the clean air gets into the tank, and the contaminants are left on this vent filter. Very important. Of course, the level sensor to speak to the system, either to fill or to stop filling the tank. We normally have also the check valve to protect the overflow, and the two valves down here is basically for distributing water where the customer needs it. And of course, this number 5 is the inlet, and we also have the valve where you can dispense water from. But also very important is the shape of the tank down here, which should be cone-shaped to make sure that during maintenance, you're able to drain this water fully. And also the shape of the tank should be round to make sure that we don't have corners where bacteria can find a conducive environment to grow. So the vent filter and the shape of the tank down here are very important. So I've mentioned about the vent filter, which has this medium to make sure that water is protected from the air coming into the tank. It's the activated carbon against the volatile organic removal. We also have soda lime, protect the water inside against carbon dioxide from the environment. And also the filter here, membrane filter, which is protecting the water from bacteria and particle from getting in. I just want to highlight two very important applications just before I finish. And that is the organic analysis. And here we are talking about the HPLC. So any contamination, this is the workflow from sample all the way to results. So any contamination in any of these steps may impact the final results. Water is basically, of course, used in the sample preparation, in the mobile phase, and also, in the mobile phase, so very critical. And also to mention that for our products from MERCK, we cover from end to end. So we basically have, of course, the water purification system, we have the filters, have the vials, we have the reagents like acetonitrile and methanol. We also have the columns as well. So the role that the water plays in the HPLC is in the preparation of the standards, washing and rinsing of the containers. And this, we are talking about ultra-pure water or type 1 water, mobile phase, sample preparation, and also learning the brands. So very critical role in HPLC. So the impact here is that the water used the advice here or recommendation is that the water used should be free of any contamination that could compromise the results of the experiments. That is, free of any analytes of interest to make sure that we really get the results, or the desired results, or free of contaminants that may interfere with the performance of the analytical instrument. So very important. And you can see how TOC levels affects the baseline shift and showing some ghost peaks. So here you can see water with 200 ppb TOC level, and you can see the baseline here with TOC level of 3 ppb. So really, the TOC level will affect the organic analysis a lot. Also, this shows the appearance of some ghost peaks, yeah? So at 2 ppb, no ghost peak. And then from there, you can see the intensity of the ghost peak. So increasing TOC level results in more extraneous peaks and baseline shifts. So very important to know the TOC level of water you use in your mobile phase. Very, very important. So the effects of these contaminants, you can see that we talked about. Organics, you'll have noisy or drifting baselines. You'll have what we call ghost peaks, or the unknown peaks, and reduced lifetime of the columns. The ions will have few effects, but will have a lot of effect when it comes to mass spectrometry and also ion chromatography. Particles will damage the HPLC pumps and injectors, and may increase the system back pressure, of course. Bacteria will behave the same way as the particles. So what do we recommend for HPLC water is low TOC, preferably lower than 5 ppb, and the system should have a TOC monitoring device. Ions, the resistivity should be 18.2 mega ohm centimeter. And of course, the system should have a resistivity monitoring device. For particles, low particles, so of course, the system should have a filtration membrane and low bacteria. And of course, this is filtration, and the system should have at least a 0.22 micron filter. When it comes to microbiology, also a very important analysis done in the lab. Very important to note that preparation of the media is one of the fundamental steps to ensure integrity of microbiological examination. And water plays a key role because over 95% of culture media is water. So really very, very important. And to mention, tap water should not be used, okay? Purified water that is used for this media preparation, one, should be free of compounds likely to inhibit or influence the growth of microorganisms like heavy metals or chlorine or ammonia. Should be low in bacteria, preferably less than 10 colony forming units per ml. Of course, we have the stored in containers made from an inert material. It's recommended that water is used as soon as it's produced, and the conductivity should be preferably less than 5 microns per centimeter. So this is and also to mention that the conductivity of the water should be checked before use. Very important, and that's why the system should be able to show the resistivity of water. Finally, looking at when it comes to sterilization, media has to be autoclaved, of course, as well as other solutions and waste. So pure water is required to produce pure superheated steam. So this means that the water that is used to fill the autoclaves should be purified water. This is because hard water will form scales deposit on heating elements, so reduced heat exchange. We also have particles and metals may deposit inside the autoclave and on what is being autoclaved, and bacteria and endotoxins should be avoided. So to just recap what we have just gone through is that we have 3 types of water: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 1 being the most pure, and type 3 being the least pure. Type 1 is for critical applications: HPLC, LCMS, ICP-MS, graphite furnace, atomic absorption, cell culture, molecular biology, and reagents. So if you have any of these critical applications, you need a type 1 water purification system in your site. We have type 2 water for standard applications like for microbiology, for buffers and reagent preparations, for washing machine, glassware washing machines in the laboratory. That's your for type 2. And of course, we have type 3, which is for basic laboratory needs. And this is for non-critical rinsing and for water baths and for autoclaves, for rotary evaporators, and so on. So when it comes to all these water purification systems, I want to mention that we as MERCK have covers all that with whole portfolio of water purification system. For type 1, we cover with basically quite a number of choices based on your applications and based on your source of feed water. So we have type 1 water that normally takes tap to Ultrapure. We have type 1 water system that normally takes pure to Ultrapure water. We have type 2 water purification system here, and we have the type 3 water purification system. Our partners, that is Cleanearth, if you have any requirement of any, feel free to really reach out to them, and they will be able to advise you the very best system that you need for your various application, because basically our portfolio normally covers every need in your laboratory. And finally, like I mentioned, we normally adapt the we normally adapt the water to your applications. So we have special final filters, which normally purifies water just before use, especially for type 1 and type 2. So we have the final filter, which we call the Milli-Pack, which is basically to offer you bacteria-free and particulate-free water. We have, so basically what they have is 0.22 micron filter, screen membrane, so very clean filter. For those with biological analysis, that is even molecular biology, you'll have the Biopack, which normally produces pyrogen-free, nucleus-free, protease-free, bacteria-free water. So mainly is for ultrafiltration for genomic applications. So we got you covered. For organic analysis, we have LC Pack for water for ultra-trace organic sensitive applications like the HPLC. We have EDS Pack for those who are doing who require water for endocrine disruptor related applications. And finally, we have VOC Pack for water for volatile organic compounds related analysis. So for type 1, type 2, we are able to really adapt to your application. And because of course, when it comes to type 2 and type 3, we are talking about really specified applications and critical ones. And to conclude, just like I mentioned, water is really the widely used reagents in the laboratory. So water is not just water, it's a reagent. It should be considered with the same care as other reagents in the laboratory. For example, if you are running a HPLC in your laboratory, the water you use in the to run the mobile freeze or to prepare water, to prepare samples for HPLC should be considered with the same care as the methanol HPLC grade that you buy or acetonitrile grade that you buy. So the same consideration should be given to the water. Also, to mention that different laboratory applications require different water qualities, just like we've mentioned about type 1, type 2, type 3. So, and now that you're being aware of the various water contaminants and their potential impact can help you make the best choice. And that is why we've gone through those contaminants and how you can remove them. And also we've looked at how you can adapt your ultra pure water and purified water as well to your application. So a wide range of water purification systems, like we have seen, are available to provide the water quality best fitted to each scientist's need. The availability of several cartridges tailored to specific applications provides great flexibility, as you just seen in the previous slide. So thank you very much. I know I have overshot my time, so please let me know if there is any question.
Thank you very much, Josphat, for delivering such an educative piece. I believe every one of us here have picked a few things to add on to the techniques we already use in our various laboratories. The floor is now open for questions. The floor is now open for questions. The survey link will be dropped in the chat box. Please fill the survey link and then revert to us. If you have any questions, please feel free to send to us Cleanearth and we'll get answers from our vendor or from Josphat for you. Josphat, someone sent me a question, so let me just ask on the person's behalf. What is the best way to transport pure water? I know Ultrapure cannot be transported, it has to be used or prepared right on the spot for use. So what's the best way to transport pure water? That's type 2 and type 3. Let's say for some reason the water cannot be used in a lab or another lab has some shortage or something, so they just want to transport just a small amount to them. Is it that has to be transported maybe in a cooler away from sunlight? What's the best temperature to transport pure water?
Okay, of course, the very best thing to have is to have a water purification system on hand. So this would be really the best, so that you can freshly prepare your water and use it almost immediately. But whenever there is, okay, of course, for type 1, the recommendation is that no storage. And you have seen from a regulator, ASTM, that should be limited to a very short time. However, if you need to really, let's say, put some water, let's say type 2 or type 3, you've seen in one of the slides there that you need to, like, the storage container preferably should be glass, and that would be really the best. And of course, the best is really to maintain, let's say, the room temperature will be okay, but the storage container is the key part. And of course, it should be airtight, should not be exposed to the environment, because of course, purified water, whether type 2 or type 3, will still pick contaminants from the environment. So airtight, well capped, and glass would be the best.
Okay, thank you very much, Josphat. I believe the person who sent the question has the answer now. Okay, so there's another question in the chat box. He said, what is the difference between distilled, deionized, and then ultra pure water when it comes to experimentation?
Okay, there are usually some terminologies really that are used to describe water, like deionized water, reverse osmosis water, distilled water. Those are just terminologies that are used to, let's say, describe purified water, but they do not have the specifications. Like, say, reverse osmosis, these are the specification. Normally, the organizations like pharmacopoeias, ISO, and STM are the ones that normally gives the specification or classify water as type 1, type 2, type 3. Normally, that would be the very best to classify water as type 1, type 2, or type 3, because we normally have the specifications. For example, for type 1 water, the resistivity should be 18.2 mega ohm centimeter at 25 degrees. So this really is the very best way to classify the water. But those terminologies really can't tell you how pure or impure the water is. It's really depend on that classifications. It's really the very best way to do that. Type 1, type 2, type 3. But mostly distilled water will fall under type 3 water.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josphat. I believe the person who sent the question has the answer now. Any more questions, please? Before we take any more questions, for those interested in the certificate of participation, kindly indicate it in the survey. That option is provided. We are all encouraged to fill the survey forms and then revert to Cleanearth. Any more questions, please? Questions, questions, questions.
Was it so clear or was it not so clear? Maybe that's the reason they're not asking questions. I don't know.
Josphat, you were clear enough. You were clear enough. So I believe with the detailed format of your presentation, I believe maybe people had questions at some point in time, maybe with your next or your forwarding slides, the person got the answer in the next slide or following slide. So I believe that is the case.
Okay, cool.
But we'll still, if we get any other questions directed to Cleanearth, we'll be sure to let you have it and then send us answers so that we can forward to the participants who have asked these questions.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josphat, for giving us this wonderful presentation. I have learned a lot. I believe every participant in this webinar has also learned a few things. We appreciate your time. We appreciate what you have imparted to us. There's one more question. I'm sorry, let's take this question before we end. And in the absence of Milli-Q in the lab, what other ways can one get an ultra pure water to be used during HPLC? Josphat, there's a question.
Okay. In absence of the water purification system, of course, out there is HPLC grade water. We actually in MERCK also normally we sell through our partners, Cleanearth. We can distribute HPLC grade water, but I would really not recommend people using, especially for such a critical application like HPLC, using a bottled water, because like I mentioned during the presentation, the moment you open that bottle of water, of course, now you cannot really guarantee the specifications during you cannot guarantee the specifications of that water again. So really the very best thing is to have a water purification system, and we do have those small water purification system. They are normally based on your need, so you can have a small water purification system based on your need. So it's the very best thing to do. But of course, for those who cannot have, there is the bottled water, and you can reach out to Cleanearth for this.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josphat. I believe the person who sent the question has the answer. There are more questions, interesting. There's another question from Kweku that says, why is it that UV lamp are not installed in the tank to protect the water that is stored in the tank?
Maybe I failed to mention that the tanks normally have a UV, and this is really important. It's good that you asked that question. The system, water purification, the reservoir tank normally have what we call ASM module, or automatic sanitization module. And basically what is in this module is a UV lamp that normally control any bacterial growth in water stored in the tank. and also protect against formation or against biofilm formation in the walls of the tank. So it's actually a standard in our new instrument, in our new systems. So it comes as a standard. But in our old system, it used to be an accessory, optional accessories based on the based on your applications. So it's there. It's the UV lamp is a standard now for the tanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Josphat. Kweko, I believe you have your answer. Interestingly, the questions are now popping up. Okay, so there's another question from Perfect that says, how are you able to test and identify type 1 water from type 2 or type 3 water in the lab?
Okay, mainly what we have is they're usually the specifications, and mainly what the two main parameters that you check is the resistivity and TOC. Those are the main parameters that really defines type 1, type 2, type 3. Those are the main ones. Of course, we have the bacteria level, and we also have other parameters, but the main ones are, and of course the particulates level. So there are four main ones. So we have resistivity, the TOC, the bacteria level, and the particulate level. So those four parameters normally help us to get to know whether water is type 1, type 2, or type 3. But of course, the systems, if your requirement is type 1, you need to have a type 1 water system and should guarantee you the specifications of type 1 water. So that's what and of course we do have systems that provides like type 1 and type 2 in one system, and others that produces type 1 and type 3 in one system. That should be known. It's possible to have more than one type of water from one system. So type 1 and type 2, or type 1 and type 3 for our MERCK water purification systems.
Okay. Perfect. I believe you have your answer. Thank you. Before I take the next question, please follow us on social media handles. It's on the screen. You can follow us on Facebook at Cleanearth SCI Limit Ltd, at Twitter at Cleanearth SCI, on Instagram at Cleanearth SCI, and on LinkedIn, Cleanearth Scientific. Do follow us. We have another question, Josphat. That's can the purity of stored ultra-pure water be maintained when it is sonicated or heated to a certain temperature? Did you get that? So
the maintenance of the stored water really depends on how you store it. So we just mentioned that the design of where you're storing the water is key, and we shared with you especially the design of the tank. So, and also the material that is used to manufacture the tank should not be able to be dissolved or absorbed by water that is stored there. So storage of the water, especially type 2 and type 3, really depends on the design of the tank, and the material used to store, to manufacture the storage container. Like you saw, we had water that was run in HPLC, stored in a plastic container, had some, of course, not very stable baseline, had some ghost peaks, as opposed to one stored in glass that was a bit, let's say, stable baseline. So it depends on how you store it. So how you store it really maintains the integrity of that water. But for type 1, no storage.
Okay, thank you, Josphat. There was a second part to that question. When it is sonicated or heated to a certain temperature, can that affect storage, or can that maintain storage?
Okay, from my own understanding, really, sonication, really, it's like to remove the any dissolved gases inside, but really does not add on any, really contributes to the integrity of the water that has been stored. So what you need to look out for basically when you're storing the water is, one, of course, the system that has produced the water really has to, you have, if it's type 2, it's type 2. And then to maintain it as type 2 when you store it, it's really on the storage of that. It's on the design of the storage reservoir or container for that matter. So that is what really counts. So sonicating or heating that water really doesn't add or really remove any does really not add or remove any value. That is my view, whether you sonicate it or you heat it.
Okay. Thank you, Josphat. I believe the person who asked that question, you have your answer. There is another question from Samuel from MERCK Chemist. Your question is, what are some of the consumables you recommend when you should purchase the Milli-Q equipment? I'll take part of that question. So you just need your filters and then your is it some type of column that the program, and then Josphat, I'll leave it to you.
So okay, basically the water system will have some consumables that you will need to change, like some is after 6 months, some is after 1 year, some actually are like after 2 years. For example, the UV lamps mainly is after 2 years. For the cartridges, for some of the system is 1 year, and others is 6 months. So these consumables really vary from one system to another. So it really depends on which system you have, and each system has different consumables. So it's only depend on that. But like already I mentioned, is that you have some cartridges to change, like for example, ProGuard, or for those who had the Milli-Q Integral, the Quantum, and there is also the final application pack, or the final filter at the end there. Either you have a Milli pack, you have a bio pack, you have an EDS pack. Those are some of the consumables that you need to change based on which system that you have in your lab. So really varies from one system to another.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josphat. Samuel, I believe you have your question. Samuel, feel free to contact Cleanearth Scientific on some of the consumables and even the equipment that you will need for water purification. We'll be there to serve you. One more question from Perfect. It says, how are you able to monitor or tell the quality of the water being produced by the system is maintained over the period of production or over the period of storage? Maybe assuming that the system has been working for some time, let's say for a number of months, let's say 5 months.
Okay, how you ensure that this is maintained, and like I mentioned during the presentation, is that we have monitoring technologies. We normally monitor two very important, especially for type 1, we normally monitor two very important parameters. That is the TOC and the resistivity or conductivity. We have the resistivity cells after every step of purification. So you are able to monitor that throughout the purification process. We have the TOC monitoring of the type 1 water. So you're able to know the TOC of the water. So, and these meters or these purification technologies are normally calibrated. So they have they've passed the test of the regulator. So they pass all those tests in terms of calibrations and so on. And we are able even to provide the calibration certificates for those. So we maintain that integrity. And that's why we have all those. If you looked at the purification journey from tap water all the way to ultra pure water, you could see those purification techniques available. So that's how we maintain in our case. So of course, the design of our tank really is designed in a way that we are able to maintain the quality of the water that is stored there. And most importantly for our system, there is what we call recirculation. When water is stored in that tank, the storage tank, there is the recirculation part to make sure that water does not remain stagnant and get bacterial decontamination. So we have those measures. We have the purification techniques, and we also have the recirculation that makes sure that water does not remain stagnant and it's moving. So that's how we do it. And of course, the system, we have service engineers. Like in Cleanearth, we have trained service engineers who normally offer the after-sale support. The system requires to be serviced at least once per month, so that of course it performs optimally. So those are the things that really, and of course, regularly changing the consumables so that you can really have the confidence that the specifications have been maintained.
Okay, thank you, Josphat. I believe the person who sent the question you have your answer. There's a follow-up to the question you just answered. You said, can you upgrade your water type by just using a higher grade of filter or filters? Can the water type you're already producing be upgraded by the use of a grade of filter?
Not really, but you can really upgrade by, if for example, you have a type 2 water system, what you can do to get type 1 water is that the type 2 water system you have can be used to feed the type 1 water system, which normally takes pure water to ultra pure water. So that's the upgrade that is possible. So if you have a type 2 or even a type 3, you can get type 1 by having an additional system that we normally call like polisher, for example, and we'll polish that type 2 or 3 to type 1. That's the only upgrade you can have. The other upgrade you can have is basically buying a completely new water system, but no additional filters per se will upgrade your water to type 1 water from type 2 to type 3.
Okay, perfect. I believe you have your answer. I understand this is a common question that clients have been asking. Okay, Josphat, we'll take the last question, and it's a follow-up question to the heating and sonication question. I think Samuel didn't quite get your answer. He's asking again, can sonication and heating maintain the integrity or the quality of ultra pure water after storage, say 2 days?
What I can mention, and maybe I'll just repeat again, maintain the quality of water really is the container that you're using and whether you're exposing this water or not. So if you expose it and it's type 1 water, whether you have sonicated it or heated it, it will still attract contaminants because, like we said, type 1 water is very aggressive. It will dissolve any contaminants that is around. So the very best thing is the container you're using is key. For example, use the bottle and the glass bottle that, of course, is high quality glass bottles. And also keep it airtight because, again, it will dissolve the carbon dioxide. But sonicating or heating will really not maintain that integrity. It's all about the container and how you store that water. But again, I want to repeat, for ultra pure water, the best thing is to freshly prepare it and use it immediately.
Okay, thank you. Samuel, I believe you have your answer now. Let me reiterate that. Heating or sonication will not affect or maintain the integrity of water. It has to do with the container being used, preferably glass, and then the exposure. Once it is exposed, they will have the chance to dissolve other things which may affect the integrity. So heating or sonication cannot maintain the integrity. Thank you very much, Josphat. We are really grateful. You've really educated us. We appreciate your presence, your time, and then the educative piece you've given us. To all our participants, we say thank you